Hello, welcome to I-24 News Sports Daily Magazine with all the latest scores and stories from around the world of sports. And there's plenty of action coming up. Fernando Torres is on the move, but where exactly will he end up? Crystal Palace sacked their manager. We take a look at the elite footballers who retired over this year. And the Washington Wizards win again. They're 21-8, just 2 years after winning only 29 games. All this and much more coming up, so let's get going. It seems Fernando Torres will begin his new year with a new deal. According to Chelsea, the Spain forward's loan move from the Premier League to AC Milan will become permanent as of next month. Torres moved to the Serie A club back in August on a 2-year loan. But according to reports, he won't be in a Milan uniform for too long and would return to his former club, Atletico Madrid, on loan. The Spanish champions indicated they don't have the funds for a permanent deal themselves, but could sign him on another loan once he's with Milan. The 30-year-old arrived in Chelsea back in 2011 from Liverpool in what was then a record transfer fee of £50 million. And after only 4 months in charge of Crystal Palace, Neil Warnock became the first Premier League manager to lose his job this season. The club's owners decided to relieve the manager of his duties after the disappointing 3-1 home loss to Southampton on Boxing Day, a result that drew boos from the Selhurst Park crowd and sent Palace tumbling into the relegation zone. The club is looking for a new manager to revive the squad with links to Tim Sherwood and Tony Popovich as possible candidates to replace Warnock. And the Japan national team manager and former manager in the Spanish league, Javier Aguirre, found himself defending Spanish football this weekend. Aguirre is one of over 40 people being investigated on suspicion of fixing a league game against Levante when he managed Zaragoza in May of 2011. The specific match was played in the last round, and Zaragoza won 2-1, saving the club from relegation. There were reports he will be sacked because of these allegations, but the Japanese Football Association stood by their manager. Aguirre, for his part, said he will remain focused on the Asian Cup next month despite the investigation and defended his former league.
During the 12 years I've spent in the Spanish league, I never did anything unethical nor unprofessional. The only means that I know to win matches is hard work. I've never been given gifts by anybody, and I never wanted them. I will cooperate with the Spanish prosecutors and defend myself until the end.
Many great players struggle to walk away from the game they played their entire lives. As 2014 is coming to an end, Liz Ballenbaum and Michael Friedman take a look at some of the elite footballers who retired from the beautiful game this year.
They left us this year. No, these players have not gone to another world. They simply retired, but their absence sounds like a mourning for many fans. The biggest name to leave the game this year is Thierry Henry. The former striker, top scorer for France, and Arsenal legend retired at the age of 36 to become a football analyst on Sky Sports. A contract for 30 million euros, which ensures a nice retirement after a career that has impressed everyone in the world of football.
I'm always very sad when the big players, they stop their career. But at the same time, when I read his words about a wonderful journey and the way he enjoyed his career, and I'm happy.
English fans have lost another beloved player. Ryan Giggs left on May 19th after 963 matches and 23 years at Manchester United. At 40, this iconic figure of the club hung up his boots after an interim period as a player-coach following the unfortunate interlude of David Moyes. However, Giggs did not leave Old Trafford as he became deputy manager of the team along Louis van Gaal. In Spain is another icon to step away from the game. After a 15-year career at Barcelona and 21 titles, including 3 Champions Leagues and 6 Spanish titles, Carles Puyol retired at the age of 36. During his long and successful career, he also lifted the World Cup and European Championship.
The reason why I called you here today is to tell you that at the end of the season, I will not be a player of Barcelona. The club is aware of my decision and we agreed on the reason and on handling my departure. After 2 serious operations, I find it very difficult to get back to where I was. It's more than I had expected and much more than the surgeons told me. That's why I took this decision.
Another French superstar stepped off the pitch in 2014. Eric Abidal won the Champions League twice and the Club World Cup with Barcelona. The former Monaco and Lille player even returned to Olympiacos despite cancer and a liver transplant. He is another great player who will be missed.
It's for personal reasons that I'm hanging up my cleats. Only a professional player knows when it's time and how he wants to hang up his shoes. I have had many great moments in my career. 2 months ago, I talked with the president and told him I was leaving in December and that I will do my best in order to help the team.
Finally, the soul of Inter Milan, Javier Zanetti, ended his career after 858 matches. He did not go very far as he's now vice president of the Lombard Club. He is also dedicating his time to charitable activities. He recently organized a prestigious match with Pope Francis to raise money for underprivileged children in Buenos Aires.
We hope this game will have a positive impact because that was our goal.
This year truly marked a turning point. Other legends turned the page. Clarence Seedorf, Rivaldo, Juninho, Gabriel Heinz, and also Juan Pablo Veron, a generation of footballers who made us dream and provided us with brilliant football.
And heading to the slopes in Germany, some scores from Saturday's qualifying Four Hills tournament. Slovenia's Peter Perev fought through difficult wind conditions at times, but still managed to come out on top with the longest jump of the day with 138.5 meters, scoring himself 148.7 points. Austria's two-time Four Hills winner Gregor Schlierenzau came in second, just 0.9 points behind the Slovenian. And Japan's Noriaki Kasai came in third place with 133 meters. And meanwhile, the Land Down Under hosted the 70th annual Sydney to Hobart yacht race this weekend. Australian Supermaxi Wild Oats won the event for the 8th time after 2 days, 2 hours, 3 minutes, and exactly 26 seconds. American-owned Comanche was just about 50 minutes behind the winner. Wild Oats was threatened by Comanche at the start of the race as the American contender took an early lead, but the Australians were able to overtake them on Saturday morning. You wouldn't think of the Sudan as tennis nation, but in the capital city of Khartoum, the sport is showing signs of growth. Michael Friedman takes a look at this sport taking a new turn in this African nation.
Tennis in the Sudan is growing as more and more people manage to gain access to the tennis courts in Khartoum. Once a sport of the privileged in Sudan, tennis courts are now attracting people from all walks of life in the capital. Tennis came to Sudan with the British occupation and was exclusive to Sudanese and English soldiers, along with heads of major commercial companies. But the Sudanese Tennis Association, which was established in 1956, is trying hard to make the sport available to the less privileged, such as Yahya Adam and his family.
After I moved into the tennis club, I spent about 6 years having no idea about the sport. Then there was a tournament in America which I watched on TV. There were players such as Serena Williams and other stars. I didn't know anything then, nothing about how to hold a racket nor the scoring system. After that, I said to myself, why can't I play as well?
Adam left his home in the then peaceful region of Darfur in 1985 and found a job as a caretaker in the tennis club in the capital. Since then, he became a player and currently a coach showing youngsters the basic techniques of handling a racket and hitting a ball.
I started working for the Tennis Association in 1995. I moved in here, got married, and all my kids were born here. They all play tennis now. Samia, the eldest, then Botania, followed by Sana, then my son Nur el-Din, who is also a star player, and my son, Hassoun, who you see practicing here, also plays. The youngest is Ahmed, who also took up practicing.
His daughters and eldest son have represented Sudan in some African tournaments and managed to come back with trophies. Hassan, his youngest son, who is 10, is the latest to take up the racket. Adel Jabir Abu Alitz, the president of the Sudan Tennis Federation Club, said his federation was striving to be more inclusive with support from the International Tennis Federation, which helps with equipment donation.
Tennis is an expensive sport. Facilities and gear are expensive. We are trying our best to subsidize the cost of equipment and facilities such as courts and the cost of training. We have received some material aid from abroad from the International Tennis Federation as they have taken note of the progress we are making. This will enable us to make it easier for people to afford equipment such as rackets and balls, etc.
The The Sudan presidential assistant also plays and is adamant tennis is for everyone.
Tennis is not the sport of the wealthy in Sudan. Neither do I think it's the sport of the privileged in the rest of the world. It's almost a popular game nowadays, and all countries are competing to host tournaments.
Joining tennis clubs may not be an option for all, but who knows if one day youngsters swap the rough clay for green lawns of Wimbledon.
Most of us wouldn't even know how to pick up a medieval weapon, but thanks to popular TV shows like Game of Thrones, more and more people are trying, picking up their swords and preparing for battle. Here's more.
Faced with a weighty metre-long sword, it's best to keep your guard up. And here at this converted church in North London, duelists are doing just that. Whether using both hands, shields, sickles or dust axe, the rules of combat are simple.
Don't get hit. If you get hit a lot, then obviously you're not doing it right. If you manage to hit the other person and not get hit, you're doing something correct. We try and represent this by having a system which operates on movement points. So each time you get hit, you lose some points. Each time you get hit again, you lose some points. And if you do this consistently, you run out of points and you die.
The Historical European Martial Arts Coalition studies and promotes traditional European fighting arts, working hard to promote this medieval form of combat in the modern day. Much of what is practiced is pieced together from surviving manuals and manuscripts.
Okay, then your thumbs together here. Okay, and if you've hit
You have to really think about what you're doing. There's a lot of sort of working out how the techniques work, playing with the techniques because it's based on medieval texts, so there's a lot of interpretation involved as well.
In the UK alone, around 1,000 people practice medieval European martial arts, and the revival is in part thanks to the popularity of certain films and TV shows.
I think it's driven a lot by things like Game of Thrones, things like Lord of the Rings, where you get people are seeing more medieval themed stuff and kind of, I think, getting more interested in what were they actually doing.
People come to see HEMA initially, they look at it as people banging swords together and having no idea what they're doing. And then once you get into the actual technicality of it, people are hooked.
Whether dueling, self-defense or learning combat skills for war, students use very real weapons, hence the need for reinforced gloves, padded clothing and helmets. Reminiscent of historical gladiatorial contests, at least here, contestants need not lose their life in order to receive applause.
And 2 months into the season, we have to admit it's been really interesting so far in the NBA. Golden State has the best winning percentage in the league, and the Toronto Raptors are leading the East. But Danny Zweibel is joining me now, I-24 News reporter. We have to admit, one of the more interesting stories of the season so far, the Washington Wizards. They're somehow finding themselves with this 21-8 season so far.
The fact that they were such a garbage team before, and I might add that the Eastern Conference has just been overall respectable after these several few years of just being kind of average. So Washington is really stepping up. Now they're starting to come together and reveal who their starting five are. And when they play together, it's a nice thing to see.
And one of those starting five is Paul Pierce, who's really reignited this team.
Paul Pierce, veteran. These guys, some of them, they take it 1 year too long, but he's definitely playing ball. And now they had Nene back, who was out with injuries for a while. So if this starting five could gel, they could perhaps be a threat, a force to be reckoned with in the Eastern Conference.
And they, within, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks, can even reach their mark of 29 games won, which is what they did 2 years ago when they still had a losing record.
It's amazing that a team in 2 years could do such a turnaround. And again, this can be a team to be reckoned with for years to come. Now, the Eastern Conference is tough. We have Toronto and Atlanta. And Cleveland is still trying to gel, but the thing is, the Bulls also, they're going to have to get through some tough teams, but the challenge is on and they can handle it.
And we're seeing teams at the top, you already mentioned them, the Toronto Raptors, that we haven't really seen up there in years. And one of the names that we're used to seeing at the top, LeBron James. I want to go back to Thursday, Christmas Day, his first day back, his first game back in Miami. It went more smooth than anybody may have expected, even though they lost.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the Miami fans and the Miami organization handled it with a lot of class. They unveiled a video showing some of his major highlights. Let's face it, they got to 4 championships in consecutive years. They won 2 of those. So the Miami fans, even though there was some boos, they were happy that he was there. It was fun to see Miami, who had been playing poorly, actually beat Cleveland, who actually had been on the ups. But the guys hugged, the old teammates, the old friends, LeBron, Dwayne Wade. It was nice to see.
And you just mentioned Miami's been on the downs, Cleveland's been on the ups. What should we expect from these teams going forward in this season? Are those trends going to continue?
Well, Cleveland still has a lot of work to gel. And just only in the last few weeks, we've seen Kevin Love, after had a few bad games and pouting was reported, they're starting to finally maybe start having a sense of identity and realizing that they have to have some patience. And they haven't had that before, and it really showed. Perhaps over the course of the year, they'll start to gel. This is a lot of the stories in the East, where we see with Washington, the Bulls, Cleveland. If these teams can gel, they can give people in the West a really challenge.
But as you said, 2014-15, the year the East is making a comeback. Danny Zweibel, thank you for joining us. But that's all for us for today. You can watch this show and every other show on our website, i24news.tv. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter, i24 News in English. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm Rob Severe. Thank you for watching.